Are you curious about the real reason behind the drying up of Lake Mead? Then prepare to have your mind blown as we uncover the shocking truth behind the decline of one of the largest reservoirs in the United States. From overuse of water to climate change, this video delves into the complex factors contributing to the drying up of Lake Mead and what it means for the millions of people who rely on it for survival. So brace yourself for an eye-opening journey as we reveal the real reason behind the drying up of Lake Mead. Before we begin, here is a knowledge check for you. What is the water level between Lake Mead and Lake Powell? Share your answers in the comments below. Here we begin. You've probably heard about the mayhem at Lake Mead. It is truly devastating, but even more frustrating is that the country is powerless to stop it. Unfortunately, the damage has already been done. The lake is experiencing severe drought. Lake Mead's current water levels have broken a decade-old record, so it's frightening. Many people came to Lake Mead's shore with boats during the summer. They were forced to return when a warning sign of low water levels appeared. Families have been coming here for decades, but their plans had to be canceled because the sailing was dangerous. Lake Mead faced one of its most difficult seasons in June. The water level has fallen below 1,049 feet. The lake has never seen such a drop in level. This is the first time the levels have fallen below 1,050 feet. The highest water level ever measured was approximately 1,225 feet. In comparison, there is a significant 15% decrease due to a 20-year drought. Some people persisted in going to the lake and ended up with their cars stuck in the sand. As a result, the low water levels quickly turned the sand into mud. The beaches where people could transfer their boats are now inundated with quicksand. It is not ordinary mud, but the sand submerged for decades, making driving impossible. Even the tow trucks dispatched to assist got stuck in the mud. So the picnic is now doomed to be stranded on the beach. Worse, you could drown in the quicksand. Because of the low water levels, you cannot completely navigate the shore. As a result, you will lose your way when you bring in vehicles and accessories. You can't just stop at a point and think that's as far as you can go because you won't know where the shore turns to quicksand. What brought a drought to Lake Mead? Unfortunately, what is happening to Lake Mead right now is the result of climate change. Of course, other factors are at play, such as population growth, but the impact of global warming on this area should not be overlooked. Today's seasons are quite unpredictable. One of the most difficult drought seasons engulfed Lake Mead, drying it out. A 170-foot drop has not been recorded since the drought began in 2020. Despite the recent rains, the lake still has a capacity of 27%. What happens if Lake Mead dries up? If you compare images of Lake Mead from years ago to how it is now, you will be astounded. There is a noticeable difference and visual representation of how the drought has altered the lake's situation. Boats on dry lake beds, yellow vegetation, and low water levels in the form of rings near reservoirs are also common. Lake Mead currently serves more than 25 million people in Arizona, Nevada, California, and Mexico. They are all important locations in the U.S. agricultural industry. Unfortunately, these areas have received water cuts due to the drastic drop in lake water levels. These cuts will also significantly impact the agricultural industry's progress. But things aren't all bad right now. If the situation worsens, these agricultural lands, which provide the majority of the country's food, will face even more water shortages. This will eventually lead to a decrease in the future food supply. That isn't all. The reservoir is the primary source of hydroelectricity for Lake Powell's dam. It serves more than 29 million people in the country's southwestern region. So if this lake dries up, it will affect more than just the food supply. However, the state may also face an electricity crisis. This would eventually lead to several other issues across the country, such as increased housing demand. However, the current situation is not dire. Lake Mead remains an important resource for the country. As a result, whatever the facts are today, they must be carefully monitored in the coming years. Discoveries in Lake Mead. In Lake Mead, just outside Las Vegas, The environmental crisis has resulted in the discovery of artifacts and even the remains of people who died in the waters long ago. Tina Bushman of Waco, Texas, learned this summer that the remains of her father, Thomas Earned, were discovered this spring, 20 years after he went missing while swimming in the lake with her family. Climate experts and local officials say that discoveries like this will become more common as the drought worsens. More experts have discovered everything from coffee machines to boat wreckage in the last year. Experts predicted that more discoveries would be made as the waters receded. However, it is the recent gruesome discoveries that have made the headlines. The remains of 5 people were discovered. Between May and August, the remains of 5 people were discovered in the lake's dried-up sections. According to the National Park Service, a diver discovered more human remains in the lake earlier this month. One of the remains was discovered in a barrel on May 1st, and investigators believe the unidentified person was killed by a headshot. Although the investigation is ongoing, some historians and fans who have followed Las Vegas' history of organized crime said that mafia connections could exist. The remains discovered in the barrel were an outlier, as investigators stated that the 4 other bodies discovered this year were victims of accidental drownings. Bushman said that she had heard stories about the mysterious barrel remains and was concerned that her family's tragedy would be falsely associated with mafia speculation if her father's remains were ever discovered. Her family lived in the Las Vegas area, and she spent every weekend at the lake as a child. They took a boat out on the water for a late-night swim in 2002. Earned said he couldn't get back to the boat and called for help, but he eventually drowned. Boats and trash, among other discoveries. The receding waters revealed dozens of sunken boats, including a World War II landing craft. The NPS believes that this World War II surplus craft was put into service on the lake for various reasons before being partially salvaged and sinking in its current location. It's unclear whether it sank by accident or on purpose to get rid of a vessel that was no longer useful. The shrinking lake has also revealed a plethora of common human artifacts, such as beer cans, sunglasses, baby strollers, tackle boxes, handguns, ancient arrowheads, and vast amounts of litter. Murder mysteries. On May 1st, 2022, a boater discovered a barrel stuck in the mud and discovered a body inside. Police in Las Vegas believe he was a murder victim who died as a result of a gunshot wound. In the late 1970s or early 1980s, his killers may have dumped him in the lake. 6 days later, while paddleboarding in the lake, 2 sisters discovered another set of skeletal remains. According to the National Park Service, a bystander alerted park rangers to yet another set of human remains at Swim Beach in Lake Mead National Recreation Area on July 25th. What do you think about Lake Mead drying up? Comment below, and the answer to our question is, when they're full, they have over 50 million acre-feet of water in storage at 1,220 feet above sea level. Subscribe for more.